Okay, we will go ahead and call the May 1st Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. Can we have the roll, please?
Chairman Lane.
Here.
Commissioner O'Day.
Here.
Commissioner Fenster.
Here.
Commissioner Tarrick.
Here.
Commissioner Jacoby.
Here.
Mayor Peck.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. First order of business is the approval of last month, the April 3rd's meeting minutes. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or corrections on those minutes? And if not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh, okay. I've got a motion to approve the minutes from Commissioner Fenster and seconded by Commissioner O'Day. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, so our minutes are approved. Next is report from the chair. I don't have anything in real particular to report other than I did attend last last Friday, I believe it was, the presentation at the museum. There are a couple other commissioners here. Commissioner Jacoby and Henderson were also in attendance. So I thought it was pretty fun presentation on some of the old buildings here and some of the history of some of maybe the few places you don't really hear about or see or acknowledge, and then Jennifer did a great job of kind of giving everyone an overview of our process and trying to make us sound less mean and more nice. So I appreciated that.
I like to describe it as the boring procedural stuff.
So speaking of, any communication from our staff liaison?
I have a few items, yes. So yes, as you mentioned, it was the 18th that I was invited to participate in the museum discussion. So I discussed a lot of the process, a little bit what goes into historic landmark status and what it means. I have another presentation I've been invited to make on June 12th at the Twin Peaks Rotary Club. I believe it might have been someone who was there. I'm trying to recall. Either way, I will be doing basically a similar presentation, basically probably recycling the presentation really, to the Rotary Club on June 12th. So getting the word out about our work in the historic preservation realm here in Longmont. We did not have any administrative certificates of appropriateness this month. We have one that's scheduled for public hearing, which we'll be hearing from momentarily. Also did process one application for a state tax credit for a property that we did an administrative COA on as well, so we were able to do it administratively. So it was for the re-roof and cupola reconstruction on an accessory building at Bowen Street. So that got processed earlier this week, actually. Let's see. May 20th, we'll be doing the proclamation for Historic Preservation Month, Archaeology and Historic Preservation Month at City Council. So would like to invite everyone for that. Should be pretty straightforward. Won't really be doing a presentation or anything, just getting our proclamation read and all good. So we'll be doing that on the 20th. And then I'm working on confirming a date for doing an information item for the survey plan at City Council. Right now it's looking like it might be early July. I'm just trying, since it would probably be a general business item, I'm trying to keep it from being on an agenda with some, shall we say, spicy agenda items. So we aren't there too late. So I should have that date nailed down early next week, so I'll let you know. We also have, we discussed last month with Alice from the St. Vrain Historical Society about participating in the Strawberry Festival that they hold every year. So we have a table reserved for the 17th and 18th of May. I will be sending a link to a SharePoint file out tomorrow, a SharePoint document that basically just has a schedule for the event. So I know Commissioner Barnard indicated he would be happy to help be a ringleader on that. So we'll be sending that out. I have a conflict on the 17th, but Melanie Nuski in our office, she will be handling the setup for that. And then I'll be available on that Sunday to assist and break down as well. So we'll need to put together some materials and such, and QR codes for people to scan and get linked to our website and such. With that, I think that's everything on my list.
Okay. As per usual, I have a few, or at least one pokey sort of item. So, again, in anticipation of grant requests that are due in October, have we got any headway on getting a presentation to council for the the resource plan and our ask for them to contribute a small amount as a match were we to obtain the grant?
Yeah, I think the plan is to do both of those at the same meeting. I
Okay.
just need to figure out and speak with my director and with assistant city manager to figure out the best place on the agenda for those items.
Okay. Yeah, so if it could not slip past July, that
Yeah.
would be ideal because obviously the
Absolutely.
grant request writing gets put, yeah.
Absolutely,
for
yeah. I'm trying to get that. I would have hoped to have gotten it in June, but we have there are some things on the June agendas that are going to, shall we say, generate some discussion from what
Okay.
I've seen.
Discussion.
Mayor Peck, you're just like
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I appreciate that. Any commissioners have any questions for staff? No? No, we're good. All right. I appreciate the update. Oh, yep, you bet. There we go. All right, Mayor Peck.
Okay, thank you. Your ask for the local match made me think of, and I can't remember the account, but it was the set aside.
And there's a historic preservation fund of
Yes.
some sort.
I
so
think I emailed you the amount that's in it. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'll have to go through my emails.
It was after the retreat.
It was- yeah.
because depending upon what the local match is, we should find out what's in that account
Yes,
first.
yes. And I know that Grant and I brought it up with Joni, but she has, since retired. So I have to go through some emails. But I know I have that information.
I think that Teresa
Teresa Malloy
would
Okay.
know.
Okay,
She's
I
the
can
one
check.
who found that to begin with.
Okay, yes, I can definitely check with her.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know that we're talking about a lot of money, but we did want to honor your request at the retreat to basically present to council that this is what we're doing, get an overall blessing, if you were, as to the process. So I appreciate that. Okay. All right, so I think we are ready to move on to our, first we have public invited to be heard. I don't have anybody on the list, but if there's anybody out in the audience that isn't here for an agenda item, now is your opportunity to address the commission. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public invited to be heard. Now we'll move on to our public hearing, and the first item is a certificate of appropriateness for a sign at 522 4th Ave. So Jennifer, do you have a quick little presentation for us?
Yes, so this is a request to install wall signs, one on the alley side and one on the 4th Avenue side at 522 4th Avenue, also known as 400 Main Street, aka the Ziggy's building. So it was originally the Longmont National Bank building. So basically 2 exterior signs with illumination for New York Life Financial Services. Previously, the space had been occupied by Flatirons Bank, and the applicant, Mr. Tingley, is here to answer any questions you may have. Basically, he's looking to install new signs that are approximately the same dimensions and in the same area, using as much of the same hardware that might already be in there as possible. So here is the building. So the space is like right here. And then there would be another one up here. So the Downtown Development Authority, so the renderings were included in your packet as well. The Downtown Development Authority has reviewed this as well. So the signs in downtown are under the purview of LDDA. But since this is a historic landmark, it does require approval by the Historic Preservation Commission as well. So LDDA has essentially signed off on it. They're holding off on giving their certificate of approval or compliance. I can't recall exactly what they call it. Until this commission gives its formal blessing to the project as well. So that is what we are here for today. So again, the sign would be up in this general area, roughly where the previous Flatirons Bank building or bank sign was. And then there would be another small sign on the alley side. And in both cases, hardware would not be drilled into the original brick. They would be using best practices to avoid damaging the original brick, to ensure that the building is maintained as well as possible. So with that, the options, of course, are recommending approval as, with any conditions as recommended by staff, recommending denial, or deferring based on additional information. Staff does recommend that you consider option 1 and approve this particular certificate of appropriateness, finding that it does meet the Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation and rehabilitation. The conditions basically are that the wall sign may project out from the facade up to a maximum of 12 inches. Features would be attached to the exterior wall by drilling anchors into the mortar joints rather than the bricks. The raceway would be painted to match the brick facade. That they would get a sign permit and certificate from the city, as well as a certificate of compliance from the LDDA, which again is in process. So with that, happy to answer any questions. And again, the applicant is also on hand for questions as well. And I will flip it back to the rendering.
Perfect. Thank you for the presentation. Any commissioners have questions for staff? Yeah. Yeah. Commissioner Fenster.
To
You're good. Nope. Now you need, hit it again.
to what extent are we to pass on the aesthetics?
I don't believe that that's really our purview. What our job has been typically with sign review for any of these buildings is to just essentially, again, we're falling back on the Secretary of Interior standards. So
Right.
does the work in any way, harm historic fabric, right? If it does make a modification, is it an appropriate one? Those sort of things.
Well, now those considerations do have aesthetic criteria built into them.
To a degree, sure, right? Just to give the commission some history, we've reviewed a handful of signs over time. We reviewed a sign for the church just kind of down the street from this that was a freestanding sign. We also reviewed the signage for the Tangerine. And for example, just to give you a sense of where we pushed back, their original plan had a giant painted chicken on the building. And we said, please, no, that was not going to be something we were going to, and that didn't even really damage the building per se, but it was maybe
That's my point.
far too much. So, to a degree, right? But I don't think it would be appropriate to get into, overly picky aesthetic points. If that helps
Understand.
clarify.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Any other comments or questions? No. Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Jacoby.
Well, yeah, when I saw this, again, this gets back to the aesthetics issue, and I don't know if we should be providing that much feedback there, and whether it really makes, it's not a make or break issue for me, but I looked at that New York Life Financial Services sign, and the New York Life logo is the logo, and that wouldn't change. But I was just wondering, I don't know what's available also when it comes to signage, but something that looks more traditional font for financial services. It might add to the quality of the building rather than just be an addition to the building if it had a more traditional font or an antique-looking font. I don't know if that's possible and if that's available. My other question was, is this sign going to be lit up at all? Because that would play into whether the availability of different signage fonts too. So I didn't see anything about it being lit, but I just wanted to double check on that.
Yeah, I do think it is lit. If you, in this drawing that's up on our screen, it looks like the letters are
It looks
internally
like-
illuminated.
Yeah, it looks like it
But,
should
yeah.
be, but yeah, I
It
wasn't
would,
sure.
it would have that illumination behind it as well.
Okay, so that might, limit the ability of different fonts or something that
Yeah.
looks more historic.
And just based on what I've seen on the website for the corporate, this signage and the font for financial services is in line with the corporate branding as well.
Right,
So,
so it's a corporate thing.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a corporate thing. So it would be no different than, than Ziggy's
Right.
signs.
Right,
So,
okay. I just thought if an opportunity, if we could add a little more historic font, but if it's not a make or break thing for me.
there's no chicken involved.
Right.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? No? There's no obligation, but if the applicant would care, if you want to come up and share anything, this is your opportunity to, but there is no obligation.
I just wanted to mention that there is
Yeah, if you would like to say, if you wouldn't mind coming up and,
a night view there. There's a night view there.
Oh, that's a night view.
Yes, right there.
We just appreciate your time, and I definitely feel really good about purchasing a historic building. It makes me feel good, to do business and also operate out of an historic building, and which we would want to keep the taste and can't think of the right words in a modern society. So there is a possibility, since Mr. Jacoby, you mentioned about the financial services, that corporate, because I haven't finished going through corporate, I'm going through corporate right now, they said that they may not approve the financial services because it doesn't match up perfectly with their corporate. Can't think of the right words. Branding. So if that's the case, then I might have to be back here next month. Well, that's a lot of fun. And if so, then I would have corporate's blessing. Everybody's would be on the same page, and we could finally just say yes, and we've done a good job. That's all I had to say.
thank you. All right, if there are any further questions, yeah, okay. All right. Commissioner Terrick?
I don't have a question, it's just a comment. And so when I was first looking at this, my main concern was that if this was going to do some damage to the building. But like you said, it adheres to guidelines and it's through the mortar and not the brick. So that gives me a little bit of comfort. I just wanted to say that as a comment. I don't have a question.
Okay. Great, thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate the thoroughness of heading that one off at the pass. I think that's probably in part from experience in previous commissions where we've hand wrung over that. So I appreciate it.
Staff provided guidance to not touch the brick.
All right, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion. And if you would make one, if you would please clarify whether the conditions as suggested by staff. Thank you for running that up there. Yeah. All right. Commissioner Jacoby?
I would move that we approve the signage with the conditions as recommended by staff And again, addressing the issue of maybe the financial services isn't, the signage isn't approved by the corporation yet. I would move that we still approve the signage, because I don't think that if they wanted something slightly different font or whatever to match corporate, it's not a big issue. So I would move to just approve as requested.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve with conditions by staff. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. So motion to approve by Commissioner Jacoby and a second by Commissioner Commissioner Terrick, sorry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right. Then we have unanimous approval. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate your time. All right. Let's see. Then, you know what? It's all good, but we haven't done one of these in a while. Technically, I should have opened public comment because this was a public hearing, but I didn't because there wasn't any public. But I still should have gone through the motions. So I'm acknowledging that just for the record. Okay. Moving on to our second item, which is the consideration of solar panel guidelines. Jennifer, do you have a quick run through on this one?
Not too much. This is basically just an item formalizing our discussion over the last couple of meetings to formally adopt sample guidelines for solar systems from using the guidance from the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. I spoke with the city attorney's office to confirm what the correct process would be, and he recommended that a resolution at the commission level would be fine, since we weren't necessarily adopting standards, but rather guidelines that clarify the Secretary of Interior standards that we already follow. So his recommendation was basically that we pass it by a resolution. That resolution is included in the commission packet for commission consideration. So I think I don't really have much else to say on this, since we discussed it and have discussed it pretty in depth at previous meetings.
Right. Great. So basically, we have an actual actionable. I'm trying to get it back up here now that I had it. Resolution, right? Mm-hmm. Do any of the commissioners have any further questions on the guidelines and how we got here? Just before we, okay, great. So I appreciate this. To me, this looks great. So specific to the resolution, I guess in this particular case, so because again, this is a public hearing, in order for me to do this correctly, I should open it up for any public comment regarding this resolution.
And if you would like, I can read the resolution into the record as well.
Yeah, it's probably worthwhile.
Okay.
If that's, yeah. So seeing none, we'll close public comment. And then if you can, yeah, Jennifer, you want to read the
Sure.
resolution into the record, and then I'll entertain a motion after that.
Great. So Longmont Historic Preservation Commission, Resolution 25-1, adding specificity to design guidelines regarding solar systems. Whereas the Longmont Historic Preservation Commission follows the Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation and rehabilitation when determining whether proposed exterior alterations to Longmont historic landmarks are appropriate, and whereas reducing dependency on fossil fuels and increasing efficiency of structures is a larger policy goal of the city of Longmont and the state of Colorado, whereas solar systems are an increasingly popular option for achieving these goals, and whereas solar systems can be installed appropriately on historic structures provided certain guidelines as followed, whereas the City of Longmont does not have specific standards for installation of solar systems on Longmont historic landmarks beyond the general guidance of the Secretary of Interior Standards for Historic Preservation and Rehabilitation. And whereas the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions has adopted sample guidelines for solar systems in historic districts, now therefore the Longmont Historic Preservation Commission adopts by reference the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's sample guidelines for solar systems in historic districts as a supplement to the Secretary of Interior Standards for Historic Preservation and Rehabilitation. A copy of the adopted sample guidelines is attached to this resolution as Exhibit A.
Great, thank you. Can I get a motion?
Oh, so moved.
So a motion to approve this resolution by Commissioner Fenster and seconded by Commissioner Jacoby. Is there any further discussion? No? All right, then all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None? So that does carry unanimously.
Great.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate.
Thank you, and I will be sending you that resolution via email for your signature.
Okay, yep,
So.
sure enough. All right, perfect. Okay. That concludes our public hearing. Now we'll move on to new business, which is a update on the sugar factory. Excellent. I'm excited about that.
Good evening, Mayor Peck and fellow commissioners. My name is Laura Moody. I'm the redevelopment manager with the City of Longmont and the executive director of the Longmont Urban Renewal Authority.
You got to get in there a little more.
Oh, get in there. I've been asked to provide a little bit of an update on the sugar factory redevelopment, so I'm just going to provide just a 30,000-foot review of what is going on, the status of the property, and some ideas moving forward. All right. The sugar factory redevelopment begins with the Great Western Sugar Factory. And just for people who don't know, the factory opened in 1903. At its greatest, at its highest amount, it produced over 1 million pounds of sugar per day. At the time, it was the city's top employer. It doubled Longmont's population from 2,000 to 4,000, and then it finally closed in 1977. So really paying tribute to a redevelopment should really pay tribute to this factory, knowing that it did contribute so significantly to Longmont's economic vitality. On the property right now is a great redevelopment opportunity. There is redevelopment potential of over 100 acres of property. There is possible adaptive reuse opportunities of some existing buildings, and there is great potential to build housing with over 1,500 townhomes, apartments, and condos, and there is potential tax increment financing available should it be brought into the urban renewal area. That being said, I will get started on the complexity of this redevelopment. The first is that on the left is a map of the city of Longmont. The bluish purple is the city. You will see that the historic structures are not currently in the city. They are in unincorporated Boulder County. So when there are issues, we do have to talk with the county about what is happening on the property. In addition, you will see the Southeast Longmont Urban Renewal Plan area on the right, and the plan area is in red, and those blue areas that you'll see that are not incorporated in the plan area are the sugar mill buildings. So once again, it's not currently in the historic structures are not currently in the city, and they're not currently in the urban renewal area. So this would all, we would look at changing all of this in a redevelopment project. Several issues on the site begin with environmental conditions, and these begin with sugar beet waste. Sugar was produced by the processing of sugar beets. this produced large volumes of waste, sugar beet spoils, a term that I did not know about prior to my work here in Longmont. And these are considered solid or special waste by Colorado regulation, and the property, excuse me, must be remediated prior to redevelopment. So this is the first of the several environmental issues that we have on the site. Additional environmental site conditions include factors from its industrial history, drainage from other industrial properties, potential lead-based paint due to the age of the building, and we do know that there is asbestos in the boiler equipment insulation. So a remediation plan will have to be created for the proper handling, storage, and disposal of all of these environmental conditions prior to any dirt is moved. In other words, prior to any excavation, renovation, demolition, or construction on the site. Finally, there are wetlands on the site. You will see in the image on the right, in the light green, are the areas of wetlands. So this does present another challenge for redevelopment, as the wetlands cannot currently be redeveloped. So the city has hired a consultant to delineate the wetlands, work with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and summarize potential wetland mitigation requirements and strategy for how these can be mitigated, if they can be relocated, and how this property can ultimately be redeveloped. So plans for reuse, we do realize that we do want to pay tribute to the history of the sugar factory, the Great Western Sugar Factory, and we would like to reuse any viable buildings that can be salvaged. We do realize that the property has been vacant for nearly 50 years now, since the factory closed. So there has been a lot, you can see in the photos, of crumbling, of just basic instability to many of the buildings as well. So we do aim to preserve and renovate viable buildings for commercial and residential use, and that we do acknowledge that demolition for some of the buildings may be needed for buildings that cannot be salvaged. And finally, that in those specific cases, we would like to reuse existing materials, existing brickwork, or recreate these buildings in a similar style, again, for the buildings that cannot be saved. The sugar factory has been in the news recently. There was a fire in March of this year, and it was the building that did catch fire was the potash building in the circle in the image, and was completely burned to the ground. Luckily, there was obviously no injuries to the fire and the rescue staff who responded. The fire did not expand outside of the property. And we did check the environmental studies, and there was no asbestos or other environmental contaminants that were located in this building. So we were fortunate that there was no leakage or anything of asbestos or anything with the fire that did occur. But it did bring it to the forefront that this site does pose a great public safety risk, and that it does really push the redevelopment strategy forward. City Council has identified this as a redevelopment priority. They declared this a priority in their 2025 planning retreat. And at the same time, the city remains committed to working with stakeholders for the fellow owners, because there are multiple owners for multiple properties in the area, and that really we are committed to working with the redevelopment to make sure it aligns with community interests and regional planning efforts. So I think that is it. I can take questions. And Tony Chacon is here as well. He is my colleague.
Great, thank you. That was a really thorough presentation, and appreciate the time. Commissioners, do you have any questions for?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner Fenster.
Have you sought or received voluntarily any solicitations for comprehensive redevelopment by commercial organizations?
No, we have not.
Have you sought them?
We haven't. Again, the property is not in the city. So because it's not annexed, we have not taken that step because it is still in the county.
Do you know
unincorporated.
whether county authorities or those who have control, although not in the city, have solicited such comprehensive redevelopment, commercial?
No, they have not. They have not.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
You know, I think it definitely, you know, it's going to take a major effort at collaboration, and we have started conversations with the county on what that collaboration looks like. And sure.
Yeah, and in part, the county doesn't have the financial resources to pursue redevelopment. Just to let you know, the contamination of this property, particularly the asbestos and the associated removal of all the equipment from inside these buildings, rough estimates are $20 to $30 million. And no developer is going to take that on. And the county doesn't have $20 to $30 million to put into this project. So that's part of the equation. The other thing is, you realize this is an enclave within the city, and to some degree, there's the ability, for example, of the city to annex that property, being an enclave, and I think the county is somewhat wanting to work with the city to make sure that can happen.
Have you, excuse me, Ed, and I apologize for pushing this so hard, but have you sought comprehensive redevelopment by commercial entities?
It's early in the,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, so we have not been actively pursuing development from the city's perspective. Again, as Laura said, first of all, it's not in the city, so we don't have the capability to work in partnership with a developer at this time. So that's where the annexation issue has to kind of get resolved to some degree. The other thing is, we have had developers approach us with ideas to develop this property, but they also keep running into probably the most significant matter anybody has had to date is convincing one of the property owners to sell their property. So that's most probably the biggest issue right now that's resonating all over all these years. And just to let you know, that current property owners owned those buildings better part of 40 years now.
How many property owners are there involved in that whole chunk, do you know?
Six. Yeah, so there's six. So there's the property up on which the brick buildings are situated, that's one. The property immediately to the south, which is outdoor storage effectively and has the big metal building on it, that's the second one. Then immediately south of that, adjacent to the rail tracks, is a third party. And just to let you know, that sliver of land is actually in the city limits. And then there is to the east across 119th Street, not 119th Highway. There's a large parcel there, so that's another property owner. And then there's some other property owners, but there's like 5 or 6 primary property ownerships, and of which only one has ever indicated an unwillingness to sell so far. So that's part of the thing. And I can tell you, there was the parcel that I just mentioned that's kind of to the west of 119th Street, that was annexed into the city a few years back, So that's actually in the city too. And we did actually have a development proposal there for an apartment project, but it fell through because they couldn't make the financial numbers work on the project. So they decided to step aside at that time. And just to let you know, there were all sorts of things happening. The market started changing. Their equity partners were getting a little suspect about development in general. So there were a host of things that led to that departure of that particular developer.
I'm not buying this.
I think,
I'm
I
sorry,
just
go ahead.
want to end on a positive note. I just want to say that we have taken council guidance seriously, and that by city council saying to make it a priority, we are making it a priority, and that we are meeting behind the scenes, and again, meeting with the county to really to chart a path forward.
Other commissioners have a question? Yep, okay. Commissioner O'Shea.
I had heard about the ownership thing anecdotally through people, and I was going to ask a little bit about that. And I'm assuming there's no room for movement on that one until something, they're fairly stiff in the not selling, and that's the huge roadblock.
No, it's money.
Anecdotally.
I'd rather say nothing.
Yeah, okay. I would just say, the remedy in terms of preserving those buildings, or some of those buildings, has to be getting possession of that property either voluntarily or through some other means. And as Laura said, the staff has started the dialogue with the city council and the county representatives to see what options may be there. And I could tell you, I had discussed the potential of getting possession of that property for a better part 2.5, 3 years. And Laura was part of those discussions for a good, 6 months to a year? And we thought we were having success. And then all of a sudden, rug was pulled out from under us. And we've come to find out it's not just us. Anybody that has ever approached this party, it seems to be the same type situation. So.
I think it's interesting that's not common knowledge. I'm sure there are, legalities or reasons that people don't talk about it, but that's kind of not horribly publicly known.
All right, Commissioner, hold on. Commissioner Jacoby's next here. Commissioner Jacoby.
Thank you. Yeah. So it sounds to me like the biggest hurdles are this one owner. And one of my questions was what you just asked, could we work around that one owner? But if it's a central tract on the properties that we're looking at, I guess you can't develop around that one person, at least at this point. But if it's otherwise, please let me know. The other question I had, the other hurdle is the $20 to $30 million to clean the site up. I know there are brownfield grants available, but I don't think they're that large. I'm just wondering, they are that large. I was going to say, where could we get that kind of funding? Is that something that's pie in the sky, or do we have some plans for that?
We have considered, they've done applications in the past. There are EPA brownfield grants. In the past, they've been up to $5 million. I think they dropped to $4 million. The challenge with the EPA grants is that you have to be a government, an urban renewal area, or an urban renewal authority, or a nonprofit to apply for the grant. So that goes back to ownership issues and how we could possibly chart that path forward. I mean, there are options, there are long-term leases, the entity who applies for the grant can have control of the property through a long-term lease, possibly, but then that entity would also have to then control the money. But absolutely, I mean, there is money available. We just have to chart a path forward. Again, and it goes with that cooperation between the ownership and fellow owners to really chart that path forward.
And if I can just add too. And so the critical importance of the Urban Renewal Authority, or bringing it into the district, that particular district, that provides a revenue stream for 25 years that can help provide those funds. So that's part of the importance to annex. You can't bring it into the urban renewal area until it's within the city limits. Therefore, the discussions on how strategically the city goes about doing that.
All right. Commissioner Fenster.
Yeah, it seems to me that annexation, comprehensive annexation, which would require some legislation, is maybe the most expeditious means. And our interests are limited to historic preservation. But if there is a risk that our objectives would not be fulfilled unless there is a comprehensive plan that includes or starts with comprehensive annexation, and I've been through plenty of those, it seems to me, got to get busy on that. That's just me.
We're working behind the scenes diligently. Annexation is definitely a path forward. The city does not want to take that path before we discuss with all the parties everything that would take. We don't want to take possession and then have an issue with urban renewal funding or something like that. So we are discussing, we're having conversations with the county about TIF funding. We're having conversations with property owners. So we are forming these relationships, solidifying these relationships, and discussing paths forward behind the scenes so that we have a clear understanding of what that path forward looks like before we try to move forward with an annexation.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Fenster?
Would any suggestion by way of a resolution by this commission be of assistance in pushing that objective along? I should say the objective of a comprehensive redevelopment, even though we would be initially, in making such a resolution, focused on preservation, if we suggest to you, the world, that objective preservation can best be accomplished by a comprehensive plan, perhaps even strongly worded, would that be of assistance in getting something done? Because the preservation element is at risk every day, as near as I can make out, because of the varying interests in that property. So my question is, would a resolution by this commission be of assistance?
So if I may jump in, given that this particular area has been identified by City Council as one of their priority areas, I think the importance of a comprehensive approach is understood. So I don't know that it would necessarily be beneficial for this commission to make a resolution, but this is definitely, as Mayor Peck can state, this is a very high priority on the council's agenda for this year and moving forward.
Yeah, Mayor Peck.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it is a top priority. And I just want to say to Commissioner Finster, and this is just my opinion because I'm not the experts in this area at all, that for me, looking at the annexation, do we really want to annex it and take on the responsibility of the full remediation? Should we not have continued discussions about partnerships and how we go about doing this? Because if we annex it, and from the information, again, anecdotally, from the federal government about the EPA, I think we need to be careful on what we do and just continue to let staff go down the path that they're going.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Fenster, I'll call you, but I would like to get to a point where we wrap this up because I don't know that we're going to make a huge... I want to be respectful of the folks' time coming down here given us some information.
I'm just wondering whether there isn't something that we can do by way of a resolution that would move the effort along. We have a core, I'm referring to the structures now, we have a core interest in historic preservation, but if that needs to be attached on our part to a resolution that pushes the subject along, we got to do something.
Well, we applaud and thank you for your enthusiasm, and we do appreciate it very much. We are working diligently behind the scenes. I will take this to our city manager for discussion, but hopefully, maybe we come back in a couple of months with an update. Hopefully, we could have a lot more public knowledge, things that we can reveal maybe in a few months, and maybe we can discuss again at that point what role would be helpful, what we could what we would appreciate, because we do appreciate your enthusiasm and your support.
Great, thank you. We do appreciate you coming down here. I know, it's another thing to do on a day, but we do appreciate the time and the update, we are very passionate about that. Everybody knows this is a very high profile, obviously, project that's not technically in town, but might as well be, right? And it hopefully will be at some point. But again, do appreciate your time, and we'd like to keep that communication open. And when it does become something that we could truly try to get behind and help make progress, I think you understand at this point that we're very much willing to do that.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that. We still got a couple other things on our agenda, so we'll get on to those. A couple of prior business items. The letter to historic landmark owners.
All right, so basically we're just asking for final blessing on the letter to historic landmark owners. It was amended based on commission input. So if the commission is good to go with this incarnation, then we will start working on getting our mailing lists together.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any final comments on the letter? And if not, I'd entertain a motion, but let's see, Commissioner Fenster.
Yeah, I have a problem with the first paragraph, which to a lot of property owners could look very threatening. Anytime you get a letter from an organization like the city, it says congratulations, you go hire a lawyer.
Okay, so I will say that we, in the last, this iteration is substantially more cheery than what we started with.
The goal was the compliment sandwich approach.
Yes. So we have a friendly face and some graphics, and so this is the friendly version.
I'll be darned.
All right. Any other comments, questions, or motions? Okay, Commissioner Jacoby?
Yeah, I'm not quite so cynical about the congratulations or so suspicious. I would move that we adopt this as written.
I second that.
Okay. Let's see, I've got a motion to approve the letter by Commissioner Jacoby and seconded by Tarek, heard her first. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, one opposed. We have Commissioner Fenster opposed, all the remaining commissioners approved, so it does move on. We appreciate your efforts, Jennifer, and we'll be excited to hear what comes of it. The last time we did this, and it didn't look this nice, we did get a handful of folks who showed up and were interested in, looking at what they could do to get tax credits for their property. So I'm encouraged.
Excellent. And the credit goes to Associate Planner Melanie Neske on this.
Okay, great. And then last major item would be the historic survey plan update. So I think we did formally approve that with a few minor corrections last meeting.
This was
right?
basically just to get it on your, get that last tweak in there, and for the commission to formally make a motion to approve the historic survey plan as presented.
Oh, okay.
So the city attorney, our council did recommend that, if you wish to approve it, just a simple motion would
Okay.
be.
I thought we did approve it last time.
Did we?
Don't, let me
Okay.
just, I got the meeting minutes right here, but I thought,
Okay.
I thought we had a motion and an approval last.
April's been kind of a blur, admittedly, so.
Yeah. In fact, the reason I remember that we did is because I made the motion.
Okay.
So, yes, yes. I moved to approve the plan with the two corrections on the survey action matrix, which we just, which were reorganizing the priorities based on the retreat meeting and adding the TBD to the agricultural sites page. And so that motion passed unanimously.
All right, well,
So I don't know that we need to make another,
We don't need to make
Well,
another
yeah,
motion then,
yeah,
so I
okay.
stand corrected.
Okay.
So yeah, those corrections have been made, so we will get this on our website and available.
Okay, great. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Barnett.
I think Commissioner Fenster had made a point several meetings ago, and I had agreed with, is there going to be any kind of a version of this? A hand-friendly version? Because, asking somebody to look at this by going through a lot of text on a computer is not an easy lift.
So our next step will be to ensure that actually it's already been formatted to meet ADA accessibility standards online. We do have a sustainability program with the city that takes minimizing paper pretty seriously. So as a general rule, we haven't been making hard copies of documents of this nature, but it does meet the various accessibility guidelines and I wish I could speak competently on what those are, but I can't. But I can tell you it meets the guidelines, so it could be zoomed in and potentially, I assume, audio if necessary.
Is it printable? If I wanted to print
If you
a
wanted to
copy
print it, there's nothing keeping you
for
from.
myself,
Yep,
it will
it's a
print.
PDF. It will totally print.
Okay.
Yeah, it absolutely will print. So we're just not in the business of printing
It's all
hard
right,
copy.
I can print my own copy. I don't
Yeah, no, it's
don't need
a
I
standard
don't need to
PDF.
violate the city's paper principles.
It's equal parts fiscally and environmental sustainability. So
I'll use recycled paper.
Okay, so now we're just to comments from HPC commissioners. Do any commissioners have any other comments they would like to make? I will only make one minor one, and that is that I will not be here for next month's commission meeting. I will be in Boston attending the American Institute of Architects National Convention, and hopefully I can find a preservation-related seminar that probably has some old stuff there. So Commissioner Norton will be excited to wield the gavel if she's able to attend. She will be in charge. All right, any comments from our sequence? No. Thank you. Then I only have one more motion left to obtain. So moved. I have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Fenster, seconded by Commissioner Jacoby. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for your time. Covered a lot of ground in 1 hour. Well done.